holding these webinars are to provide a good understanding and a comprehensive knowledge from the basic level to all the preliminary learners of the research education. I hope all the participants will get the maximum out of this webinar and hope this will be helpful in your future researches. Prior we move to our panel members, let me remind you to mute your mics until the end of the session. And if you have any questions to be asked from our panel members, you can drop them in the chat box. So based on the time availability, we would be able to answer you. With that small reminder, let's move to our first panel member. He's Professor Veransha Karunaratne, Consultant, Academic Affairs and Research, ready to speak about science and research. Professor Veransha, over to you.
Okay, thank you. The topic of the webinar today is on abstract writing and why research becomes important in this process is because it's about the research that you have carried out that you write an abstract about. So the behind this whole process of abstract writing is the whole set of research ideas, research data, research results that have been obtained, which enables the person to write an abstract or a scientific paper. Now, research is what leads to scientific knowledge. Accumulated research leads to enhancement of our knowledge. Now, for example, in the late 1960s, first time the US send astronaut or 2 to 3 astronauts to the moon. Now, when the moon exploration began in the late 1960s, the computers that were there were very rudimentary. In fact, the computer that was used to send a man to the moon had much less computational power than the smartphone that you have in your hand. So your smartphone is a better computer than the computer that sent the first man to moon. So major advancements of scientific knowledge has taken place, and that is as a result of research. And the object of research is to extend human knowledge beyond what is already known. But an individual's knowledge enters the domain of science only after it is presented to others in such a fashion or by way of an oral presentation or a scientific abstract or a scientific paper, that it can be independently judged for its validity. So an abstract, in addition to you learning to write an abstract today, the reason behind the abstract is because you are now making public the scientific research that you have carried out, which is an important part of the scientific process. And the scientific research has many stakeholders. There are many partners to the abstract that you hope to write. Now, there are researchers, your supervisors, your lecturers who work with you, your supervisors, who they are, and then funding agencies. CINEC probably funded the research, and governments, and more importantly, to the topic of today's discussion, publishers and editors of journals are also part of the research process. So without publishing your work, without writing this abstract that you're planning to learn to write, no research is ever complete. So research is generally defined as the experimental development that comprises of creative work undertaken on a systematic basis in order to increase the stock of knowledge, including the knowledge of man, culture, and society, and use of this stock of knowledge to devise new applications. So research, the key words here in this definition are, it must be done on a systematic basis. You don't do it for one day and stop doing it and then come back after 1 month and to continue. It's got to be systematic piece of work. And then it needs to lead to our enhancement of knowledge. And the most important thing is that this knowledge must lead to new applications. That's the whole spirit of research. If the research does not lead to new applications by way of the abstract that you're writing, then it cannot be called research. Now, we have been doing research for many, many years. As you know, roughly about 15,000 years ago, man lived in small groups inside caves. We were cave dwellers before we became an agricultural society. And it is in this cave, research, although we didn't call it research then, allowed us to survive our life in the cave. Because the fundamental job that these small groups of humans needed to do inside the caves was to first to find food to survive, and secondly, to avoid predators. So to find food and to process food, they had to make tools, and also they had to make tools in order to ward off the predatory animals. So this is research. You don't create an instrument to ward off an animal or predatory animal within a day, 2 days, or 3 days. It's systematic work, systematic research in a period of about decade, 2 decades and more. And this early research allowed us to survive in the cave life. So later we became an agricultural society, and as you know, in 1825 in the city of Manchester, UK, what is today known as the Industrial Revolution took place, the first Industrial Revolution. Since then, man has been using machines, and that has increased the gross domestic product, or the GDP, very much on this planet. And now many countries in the world are called rich countries, although Sri Lanka doesn't necessarily fall into that category, particularly these days. So the research, therefore, has entered our undergraduate vocabulary. Research is fundamental to how a university such as CINEC Education works. Your lecturers who teach you are teaching out of textbooks, and these textbooks have been written because researchers carried out to write those textbooks. So basically, although you never think about it or have not thought about it so far, your undergraduate curriculum is based on research that was done a decade or 2 decades ago. And research, therefore, is what makes the academic staff, your teachers, intellectual, because they are teaching you the results of research that has been done in study, whatever that area is, that makes your academic staff intellectual. Now, it ought to, therefore, become the fundamental support of our teaching. Naturally, it is the fundamental support of our teaching. You may not hear the word research that much in your day-to-day life at CINEC, but everything you do here inside this place is academic activities, that is based on research that was carried out earlier. So you need to understand that this whole exercise of abstract writing is a very important thing, where you learn to make public the results of the research you have carried out. So I don't want to go more than this, and you realize the projects we have carried out is based on what is called the scientific method, where you identify a problem that needs to be solved, and then you come up with a hypothesis saying this is how this problem can be solved. In order to test the hypothesis, you have carried out experiments, and these experiments have given you results, and these results have been now analyzed by you, and then you have drawn conclusion. And now you're ready to publish your first abstract. So at this point, I'll let the organizers take over and allow other speakers to speak. And I hope all the participants here in this webinar that you'd have very fruitful discussions, and you learn a lot about not only how to write an abstract, but also the purpose behind the exercise you are just about to embark on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. Next, we are moving to one of the most important topics, and one in which our debut researchers have many concerns upon, and that is basics of writing an abstract. I would like to invite the Dean, Faculty of Management and Social Sciences, Senior Lecturer, Professor Lalit Singh, to talk about the basics of writing an abstract. Professor, over to you.
Thank you, and very good morning, just before the noon. Let me start with my slides. I think you can see the slides.
Yes, Professor, we can see.
Right. Right. This is about writing an abstract. I will be just taking about 20 minutes and to discuss following topics. Why should we learn to write abstracts? And then what an abstract is? Then the main types of abstracts and the way forward of this workshop series. As you all know, we are having CINEC Students Symposium end of this year, and we are trying to prepare for that great event. And now you can see here from University of Oxford, and you can see here abstract, within bracket it says 250 words. Now this is a calling for papers. It says we welcome individually proposal for 20 minutes papers sent as an abstract. Now see this one. This again from University of Oxford. And they say we invite proposals from postgraduate students of 20 minutes paper delivered in English. Please send an abstract, maximum 30 words, 300 words. This is from Harvard University. And there again, you can see that graduate students interested in participating in the conference should submit a 300-word proposal. And see here, this is from Sri Lanka. And it's also Ministry of Labor, all for short abstracts for their annual research journal. It also says guidelines for abstract or full papers, and short abstract is 250, 300 words. Now, just to write this 300 words, now we are, having a workshop, right? So then it must be something important. That is why we have selected this topic to discuss it today. So let's discuss what an abstract is. So it's a concise summary, right? It's a very brief summary of a research paper or a entire thesis, or I think all of you who are doing their final year dissertation will come to this point in one day, sooner or later. So there you will have to definitely write this, right? And it should be a fully self-contained, and it should make sense by itself. Only that paper should make sense. Only that abstract, only that part of this 300 words should make sense. And it should not give any reference outside sources, anything like that. That's why it says fully contained. And then it highlights the research purpose and the relevance or importance of that particular topic and the main outcomes. There I will explain you, when you say main outcome, it is commonly, but not necessarily the outcomes in certain cases that I will explain later. And it should be a well-developed single paragraph, approximately 250 to 300 words. Now, for the benefit of those who would like to see the meaning in singular, for an abstract, in general terms, we call it a saransha, or sometimes we call it in singular nibandhana, udhrutaya, but not necessarily within that meanings, but just try to understand it in English as we are going to write these abstracts in English. So the function of the abstract is to outline briefly all parts of the paper. I repeat, all parts of the paper. Now, think about your final year dissertation. Possibly it's maybe about 15,000 words or maybe 30,000 words sometimes. You know, at higher level, it will be 60,000 words. How are you going to write that in one single A4 size paper, 12 point New Times Roman, single space, right? And, you know, say sometimes, you know, they control it to say 300 words. You know, how are you going to abstract it to that level? So this is the beauty of writing, properly writing an abstract. So to understand the paper and an article, we call it a research paper. It's a comprehensive production of research findings, critical thinking, and source evaluation organized in a written form. We call it academic writing style, right? Academic writing style. You know, some students, we know that they wait till the last minute, although they are given 6 months, they wait till the last minute to write their dissertation. Why? They think it's like writing a novel. But definitely it's not that. That is why we are trying to develop a culture in CINEC, because we call ourselves as beyond a graduate. CINEC is beyond a graduate. So we need to be somebody beyond that. So let's see an example of this, what we call an abstract. You have the title of the paper, and then you put your authors' names with their affiliations, and then the abstract comes. So it says the abstract should be written in Times New Roman, as I was mentioning earlier, 11 point size. You know, this differs time to time. You know, this is one example I'm telling you. It's about the CINEC International Research Symposium, our CIRS 2022 abstract, how you should write it. 11 point size font, and the document should be single line spaced. The word limit should not exceed 300 words. And it gives all these other details, but I'm just trying to show you the type of a abstract, how it comes. So there are two types of abstracts, right? There are two types of abstract. One is informative and the other one is descriptive. So descriptive abstracts, it contains information found in the research work, briefly explain the purpose, methods, and scope. And it uses keywords, and it does not give judgment. It does not give judgment. That's why I said there are two types. One you can do before you do a research. One you can do before you do a research, at the time of planning the research, because the descriptive type abstract do not provide results or conclusions, right? So this is important, because some students might feel that how can we write an abstract if we have not done a research? It's true for certain types of the disciplines. So that is why I call all the deans here to give relevant topics and discuss about those topics also, because in social sciences, where I'm going to discuss more in details, in social sciences, you can do both this. You can write descriptive abstract as well as informative abstracts, but not in all disciplines according to my knowledge. But just get the idea and be out from the box thinking that I cannot write an abstract since I have not done a research. It's not true, right? And if it is an informative abstract, the context and the importance, methods, principal results, arguments, and conclusions all can be presented in that 300 words. It's simply coming to something like this. You can see in this page, the initial part, it says, the first sentence introduces the topic under study. The next two sentences, if you go to the second one, next two sentences explain what previous research has demonstrated. So it points out the limitations in the methods that were used so that provide a rationale for a new research. So in research, we call it, we do not want to reinvent the wheel. Now the wheel has already been invented. Now what we are trying to do is we use it. So therefore in research, what we do, it has to be novel. We don't reinvent, but we can extend our research from what that has already been found by other people. That is why we do a literature survey. So going to moving forward, then it comes the data research, analytical methods, and other things of the study. Then the major findings. If it is an informative one, then it is a findings and the other implications and significance of the study. This is how it comes. And moving fast to be within our allocated times, you get sometimes the submission instructions, because the abstract must be relevant to the central conference theme if it is a conference or a symposium. Now here we have various themes in our one. I will just show you in the last point. And now can see then the next stage. There are two types again, abstract and the extended abstracts. So the extended abstracts are a little different than a normal abstract. You can see the instructions here. Please refer following guidelines for preparing the extended abstract. What do they say? Submission must be entirely original, not previously published, and must not be under concurrent consideration or schedule for presentation elsewhere. And it should be the introduction, questions, literature review, methodology, and analysis and discussions and so on. So it gives more than the normal one, normal abstract. And it usually, since with the time limits, I'm just going a little faster. Now you can see here in extended abstract, they say the page limit is 4. So it gives, usually it gives not in number of words. Yeah. It gives the limits based on number of pages. So the extended abstract is little more than that. It says it is more elaborate version of the abstract that describes the research work being carried out and the research outcomes. The extended abstract should be typed and all this information, the details are given, but basically it gives the introduction, methodology, experimental design, results and discussions and conclusions. Now, just do you see this here or Lakshmi, do you see this extended abstract format I'm showing?
No, sir, only the slide.
Right, okay. Then it's in the other slide. So then without taking time, we will just move on to the other slide. Right. Now you can see here also it says introduction, and it includes the background of the study, problem identification, research questions, objectives and significance of the study, and little bit of literature, then methodology, analysis and discussions, findings and conclusion. So these are the things that we basically give. So moving on to the the final slide of me. I'm supposed to finish at 12:10, and the way forward. What is the way forward of this the lecture series? I will just share the website. Lakshmi, can you see the website?
Yes, we do.
Right. Okay. So this is our website. So I will just show you how this abstract writing comes into play with our CIRS 2022. Now we have 196 days more, 14 hours, 48 minutes and 14 seconds, and you can see it's declining, right? And so you need to be well prepared to write an abstract. Now these are our tracks. Earlier I mentioned that if you are writing an abstract, it has to be relevant to these topics. So you have to select a topic which is basically coming under transforming innovation for sustainable development. Under that you have tracks like this, and about these tracks, your respective deans or HODs will discuss in a while. And what you can see here is now we have called for papers since last month, and your abstract submission closing will be on the 15th July. And we wish to extend it since this is the first time that we are asking for abstract and then moving for full papers later for the Scopus submissions. You have to be within these timelines. So this is the type of way forward that we are going to have. So until 15th July, we are going to help you with at least 2 more workshops that will be focused on writing the real abstract after you select your topics. Now, from this point onwards, after your respective deans explain you how to pick a suitable topic for you all, then you can be more focused. And then in the next 2 workshops, we will discuss how best that we can write the best abstract for you, which will finally end up in a very good research paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. I believe all of our participants got a good understanding on the fundamentals of writing an abstract by now. Before we move to the next segment, I would like to remind all of our participants to mute your mics until the end of this webinar. Next, we will be going to look at the topics and abstract titles of different disciplines, whether you should proceed with an informative abstract or descriptive abstract. I believe all the participants representing various disciplines here will obtain a good understanding regarding this. First, we will be looking at the topics and abstract titles related to engineering and technology. To talk about that, I would like to invite Dr. Janaka Liyanagama, the Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology. Dr. Janaka, over to you.
Thank you very much, Damsi. As far as the Faculty of Engineering and Technology is concerned, we are mainly focusing at the CINEC Student Research Symposium 2022 on the topic Innovation for Sustainable Development. Under this topic, it's a very broad topic we have selected for you under the main topic of the symposium where any student project can be presented in a way of an abstract, and also to present the outcome of your research work. The faculty encourages all students of the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, irrespective of their level of study, to actively engage in this research symposium and get the maximum use of this opportunity to present your findings of your research work, as well as by the way of presenting an abstract, and if selected, to present your research outcomes. However, although we encourage all students to take part, the faculty would like to make it compulsory for all final year students, where the dissertation is a compulsory part of your degree program, to submit an abstract for the symposium. Why I'm telling that is, you don't have to do additional work for this. Already, as part of your dissertation, you have to write a one-page abstract or the summary of your dissertation, summary of your final year project. So it is just a matter of discussing with your supervisor and to submit the abstract for the symposium for consideration, and if selected, you can make a small presentation of the outcome of your final year research project or the dissertation. That also you don't have to get prepared specifically, because the presenting your final year project outcome is a compulsory part in the evaluation process of the dissertation. Therefore, I would like to request all our final year engineering students to take this opportunity and submit the abstracts of their final year research projects and the dissertations for this symposium. There's another main reason why we are encouraging this, or why we are trying to make it compulsory for all our final year project students. Within a very short time period, no sooner you complete your degree, majority of our students from our past practice, we know that, are trying to apply for their postgraduate studies. And it will be an added advantage for you to get a placement in another university to do your postgraduate studies, your master's studies, or to read for your doctoral studies. If you can prove that you have a good research background during your undergraduate studies, or you have engaged in research work during your undergraduate studies. If you have any publications, or if you have presented your findings in symposium like this, definitely that will be the best way to prove that you have been engaged in research work during your undergraduate studies, serious research work, and you are interested in disseminating that knowledge with the others, and the abstract, published abstract or the presentation would be a very good proof for that. And I am 100% sure you will be getting a good placement in a good university for your postgraduate studies if you have presented your research findings during your undergraduate life. Also, most of the students are asking for reference letters for their postgraduate studies. And when issuing such reference letters, the faculty give special attention for those who have already presented something in an international symposia like this, or presented a research paper in a journal or any other workshop available for students. And especially the faculty will definitely add additional paragraph for students, those who have engaged in publishing or disseminating their research work through abstracts and presentations in symposia. Therefore, once again, I would like to earnestly request all our students to ensure that you submit your abstract and make the presentation at the student symposia. As far as the MEng students are concerned, you all have the MEng group project. Once again, when we consider the level of your presentation, level of your research in the group project, definitely you all are eligible to make or submit a good abstract, a summary of your work to the research symposia at CINEC. In addition, if we take the BEng students at level 4 and level 5, both you are having group projects, and the outcome of those projects can be presented at this symposia. Therefore, please discuss with your supervisors and ensure that at least one group, the entire group is presenting their work at the symposium through one abstract. Even if you have not yet completed your work, still you can do a presentation, and as Professor Lalit very clearly indicated, you can submit an descriptive abstract and make a presentation at the symposium. So even if your research is incompleted, still you can take part in this symposium, which we do encourage. Finally, we do have our HND students, where again a project is a compulsory module, and the outcome of those projects can be presented at this Student Research Symposium 2022 at CINEC, and you can publish your abstract. Therefore, we encourage all our HND students also to submit the summary of your work of the research project and submit an abstract and make a presentation at the symposia. In general, once again, on behalf of the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, I would like to request all our students, and those who are not present here, please convey this message to other colleagues. Please actively make use of this opportunity given by CINEC Student Research Symposium, and actively take part by publishing your abstracts and making presentations at the symposia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Janaka. Next, we will be looking at the topics and abstract titles related to health sciences discipline. I would like to invite the Dean, Faculty of Health Sciences, Senior Professor Manik Hettieva to speak regarding this. Professor, over to you.
Damsi, Professor Manik is having a connection issue, so we can move to the next presenter.
All right. To talk about the topics and abstract titles related to humanities and education, I would like to invite the Associate Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Education, Senior Lecturer, Mr. Lasantha Basnayak. Mr. Lasantha.
Damsi, thank you very much. And so good afternoon to everyone. And so today, I would like to share my experiences and knowledge on how to select a title for an abstract as far as humanities and education disciplines are concerned. So I'm pretty sure that the students from the Faculty of Humanities and Education have already joined, and especially the final year students. And the students especially, now what you have to understand is that, because I just have to speak separately about these two fields, humanities and education. So especially as far as the humanities field is concerned, this is really broad. So, so then when we select a title for an abstract, what we have to understand is the scope of your research, right? So as it is very clearly mentioned, it was mentioned in previous presentations, your abstract is the summary of your dissertation. So you should be able to communicate very precisely and clearly what are you going to do in the future, how you are going to elaborate that. So then selecting or choosing the title, the correct title, the appropriate title for your abstract is the most important task, and the task that should be most carefully done. So students, I'm just giving you certain instructions and tips that you have to keep in your mind when you select a topic for your abstract as far as humanities and education areas are concerned. And so number one, the most important thing is that you have to be mindful about the topic that you select, whether it can do a novel contribution to the field. So that is the most important thing. So your contribution you are going into the field should be novel. Right? So when you select that, so you will have to refer many research conducted, papers written previously. Whether you are going to do the same thing, you should be able to get an inside idea about your topic. If the same is published several times, of course, then you have to go for a second thought as to how you are going to do a novel contribution, new contribution to the field. So that is the most important element that you have to keep in your mind, students, when you select a title for abstract, as far as humanities and education disciplines are concerned. And the next important element that you have to have emphasis on is whether it has sound methodology. So that is also very important, depending on your topic. So in order to explore it further, whether it has sound methodology. So all these things are preliminary considered when you select a topic. And the other thing is that when you select a topic, so you have to be very, very careful as far as the keywords you employ in your title. The most important thing is that you develop your study based on the keywords that you use in your topic, right? And also what is important is that you cannot include several keywords, because as far as the research is concerned, you have to, because now that's what I said, because summary of the research is abstract, your scope is very important. If you include several keywords, the scope of your study will be broader. So somewhere middle of the study, you can find yourself in a trouble or deep waters. So try to make it qualitative. So your selection of your title for the abstract should have a qualitative value, not a quantitative value. Right? So next thing is that you should be able to explore further about the same title and the titles with the keywords that your title comprises. So then only when you continue, because always when you write your abstract, even though an abstract is a one paragraph document which comprises around 300 words, remember this is your foundation of the study, of the research. So then you should be able to explore further about the same subject and check whether there are many research conducted, there are many papers published, there are many work done related to that. So then only, of course, when it comes to the citation level, of course, you can have adequate citations. Otherwise, if it is not considered right at the beginning, what will happen is that so you will come across a big problem due to inadequacy of the papers or research. So then all these things, because you have to be far-sighted when you select a title. You have to be far-sighted. Sometimes the students tend to select certain titles based on their interest or taste, which is not completely wrong. So what is important, the selecting an interesting field is also important. And meanwhile, in order to support your title, in order to elaborate your title, whether there is plenty of adequate resources, that is also very, very important, right? And your title should be researchable. It is not used, you do not select a title just to express how you feel, what you feel about that. This is researching. The area has been searched earlier and you're researching. You have to add some value. You have to add something extra to that. So that is your contribution. So when you select your topic, you always have to think, as I earlier told, it should be novel, and also it should be researchable. It should have number of keywords. It should not exceed, right, excessive, because otherwise the scope of your research will get diluted, students. So therefore, having 2 or 3 keywords would be sufficient. So then you can study about extensively. Right? So always you should be able to select a topic, right, within which you find a very clear scope, right? So even in the abstract, we have to narrow down, because now, for an example, humanities or education, broad areas, but you should be able to narrow down your research topic to a researchable study, right? So the students, I think the allocated time for me is 10 minutes. I have already consumed all 10 minutes. So keep the points that I shared with you in your mind when you do your further studies, especially when it comes to your point. So you have to do a research as well. And please, I would like to request from you all to submit your abstract for the forthcoming CINEC International Symposium. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lasanford. Now we will be looking at the topics and abstracts titles related to health sciences discipline. I would like to invite the Dean Faculty of Health Sciences, Senior Professor Manik Hetiheva, to speak regarding this. Professor, over to you.
Thank you. And good morning to everyone. And I think you all have already listened to all the deans and Professor Barancha about the basics of abstraction and contents and the difference between abstract and the extended abstract. And so I would like to talk about the same applies to health sciences. And I would like to invite all of our students to, like all other deans said before, to try your best to get your abstract to submit to this particular symposium. I know that we don't have final year students yet with the research projects, but to compensate it, we have initiated with the mini research projects in the second year. So if students are here, please think about your, not the salami abstracts, but you can have your own new abstract for this particular symposium. Research in health, next slide. A little bit different from other subjects. As you all know, it can give a real value to the society because you will be concentrating on the researching and analyzing of the disease trends and the new risk factors. It's an ongoing project. So you can find out the new factors, new disease trends, and analyze and give the message to the health ministry to implement the alternative and revised guidelines. So that is one opportunity. And also you can work on the outcome of treatments, like all the health science students in this faculty are working on the treatment-based outcome research. You can compare, you can find the differences quantitatively and qualitatively. You can do the assessments. And also if you're interested, you can go for a public health interventions, especially if you are working with you're learning epidemiology and functional abilities. And also you can, if there is a burning issue in the patterns of the care, patient care and the laboratory care, the pharmaceutical care, all these things are very important for you to think about. The most important thing is the novelty of your idea. The pattern of care, if there's existing one, if you think that that should be different, if there's a current need of different pattern of care, please go ahead with your novel idea. And healthcare cost is one of the burning issue now, and as everybody knows, so you can think about the alternatives. You can do the analysis, you can do some primary research work on this, and because the first batch of the students are entering to their projects already they have started, you are in the correct time, critical time to decide about your topic. So these are the most demanding area that you can think about. And most importantly, with the product development related to health sciences, with your idea generation, you should not stop at the publication level, although you are expected to do the publication here, and you can plan it with you can plan retrospectively the particular product that is required to the society, and retrospectively you can plan it. So in health sciences, I don't know about other disciplines, we have primary studies and secondary studies. And let me go with the primary studies, please. With the primary studies, basically the real experiments. You go with the laboratory experiments, and also you can go with the clinical trials and the surveys. So those are the main primary studies that you can think about. I know most of you have entered with the laboratory experiments and also human research, but not to the clinical trial level. But you can plan for it in your final year research, which can end up with a really important outcome. You can apply that knowledge to the ministry and to the society through the ministry by recommendation of your findings. Next one, secondary studies. Of course, it is different from your primary. It is for the basically for the experienced researchers. You can think about writing reviews, narrative reviews, and if you want to go for a systematic, yes, meta-analysis. If you once you become an advanced scientist, you can do, and also you can go for a secondary studies for the recommendation of the guidelines. As I told you, if you find a good evidence for the change of the system, yes, we can go for a secondary studies of the guideline assessments. And likewise, next slide, please. Lakshmi. All right. So here you can see the hierarchy and the pyramid. You can see in the bottom, it's the test tube research, that what you are doing in our laboratories, in vitro studies. That is the basic preliminary level of studies, and then you can go for animal studies, and we can facilitate you with the standard animal houses available in the MRI and other universities. And if you're planning, you can go with the from bottom line to higher levels. And once you get some experience in this level, you can go up in this particular ladder up to the, as I told you, the systemic reviews and the meta-analysis. And the randomized control trials are basically for just to recommend the drugs for the manufacturing. So that is very much higher in this level. So dear students in the health sciences, you should start your journey because you are for industry. This is not for clinical practice. You all from biomedical, pharmaceutical and cosmetic, you are produced for the industry, in the emerging industry of the country. So start your research. It's very important, as Dr. Janaka said before, if you want to get a reference from the faculty, and also you have to have a proper review, proper reference, we have to have evidence. If you publish, I know some students had a very good publications, think about publishing your paper, either this symposium, go with the abstract, and you can, we also have our CINEC journal for your publications, which is already have good citations. Next. And as Lalit said, you can see different types of abstract, but for us, for the health sciences, please think about informative and structured abstracts. There, as he said, that you can, you have to do the literature survey, plan it very nicely, and accordingly, you have to plan your objectives, plan it and discuss it with your supervisor, and methods and results and conclusions. It's like getting a cream of your research into a one page, actually 250 wording. Making your outcome into a 250 word is one of the writing skill. So you have to get the experience. You can't just write within first abstract, but write and write and write and get the experience. And structured abstracts is also for you to get this, you can get it in a, it has to be structured, and basically it is done in medical literature and clinical trial reports. For your level, of course, you can go for informative. Next one. So topics. When you select the topics, please think about, you can think about any related area. But when you select it, don't select just one. You have to concentrate and think about the society and the country and the world, and find out the burning issue at the moment. If you can address a particular burning issue, start with the SDGs, small group discussions among your group members, and then analyze and get the pros and cons for that, and then get the proper idea, then generate the idea, and then you come up with the finalizing the area of the study. So with this method, you will not just flow here and there, but you are doing a particularly very focused research for your level. Right. Next slide. So important points for you to remember before you select the title. My advice is to, whenever possible, best for you to think about product-based research planning. So this is what we are expecting. I think we have supporting office, and I am always for this. Think about your research, think about your product outcome and plan it retrospectively. Is that to do? You don't need to go for a patenting or protecting trademarks or nothing. Forget about all these protections. If there is a current need of a particular product to the society, at least to the Sri Lanka, think about your knowledge transfer to the society. Do that, and facilities are here with us. And then plan your objectives and analyze the current. And also remember, you have to plan it well because of the preliminary cost analysis. You have to think about the cost analysis. You can plan anything, but you have to do the cost analysis, do the preliminary, and your supervisors are there to help you. And also do the practicability and feasibility essay, and with the supervisor, of course. And if you think that you want to do the human analysis, so human related materials, well, we have a accredited ethics review committee and you can submit your applications and get the proper clearance of the ethics and do your work. And this is what I have to say. When you select the titles, you have to always think about retrospectively and think about the burning issues. You don't go on for a very high-ended research. Nothing like rocket science here, just for a basic undergraduate research project. So next slide is the final one, I think. So plan for outcome-based research topics. When you plan the topics, benefits of your research topics is very important. Without just spending money for just to do the research, don't do it. You have to plan your, you have to come up with the benefits. If you are submitting it to the ethics research committee, definitely you have to write it in the benefits. What are the benefits to the society? What are the benefits to the participants and to the country? So these things properly analyze and application of the finding. And once you get the finding, it would be better if you can get a applicable finding to the Sri Lankan society. And then once the particular process, I would say it's a transition of message from laboratory to the society. So finally, the word comes always in my mind is the technology transfer and your knowledge dissemination to the society. So plan accordingly. I'm there to help you whenever it is necessary. I have my practicing open office concept. If you have anything that we can support you in this regard. Thank you very much and all the best for this.
Thank you so much, Professor Manny. To talk about the topics and abstract titles related to IT and computing, I would like to invite the Associate Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Head of CINEC Metro Campus, Mr. Chandima De Silva. Mr. Chandima,
thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Namsi. Thank you very much. And very good afternoon to all of you. So I'm actually following on from the previous speakers, and all the previous speakers have more or less already given the main points. And I will be specifically speaking about aspects of titles in ICT related research and projects. The next slide, please. And as it was mentioned by many speakers, an abstract is a very short summary of one's research paper or a thesis or a dissertation, which is usually around 250 words. Of course, this can vary from journal to journal or from conference to conference. A well-written abstract, it attracts readers who have similar research interests. And also the contents of the abstract are crucial for others, for your peers or for others who are interested in your research to find your paper. Generally, what we do is we do a search on a particular keyword or on a particular topic to find research articles. And thereby, writing a proper abstract is very useful. Then also, different academic journals and conferences have different specifications or guidelines. For example, our international conference on our website, the requirements or the guidelines for the abstract are given. So the students or even the academic staff who are willing to submit abstract for this forthcoming conference, they are encouraged to look at the website frequently for the changes or updates and strictly follow the guidelines, because sometimes even if you have a good research in hand, not following the specifications or guidelines can lead to the rejection of the abstract or the paper. So I would like to request all participants to look at the guidelines very carefully before you start writing your abstract. And as Professor Manik said, writing in short is a difficult task. I remember when Winston Churchill was asked to deliver a 1 hour speech, he said, I can get ready in 10 minutes for a 1 hour speech. When he was asked to deliver a speech in 5 minutes, he said, I need 1 week to get ready. So you see that the shorter your presentation or shorter your writing or shorter your speech, the more difficult it is to get ready. So writing a good abstract needs a lot of preparation. Then I go to the next slide, which is on the screen right now. Crafting effective titles. I mean, what should we keep in mind when we are writing an effective title? Now, as it was mentioned many times, an abstract is a short summary or it's a very short document. So often it is your first opportunity to impress others by writing a very effective and a positive abstract. If you want to entice your readers to read your full paper, you have to write an effective abstract first. Then also, you need to be sure that the title predicts the contents of your paper or your thesis, which means the title should correctly reflect or describe the contents of your paper or your research. Then also it should contain important keywords. Then the title should briefly describe the purpose, the scope, the tone, or the methods. Sometimes you may not be able to incorporate all this, but at least 1 or 2 of these, the purpose and the scope, or the scope and the tone, or the purpose and the methods, depending on your research. Because I'm particularly referring to ICT. ICT is mainly a pure scientific discipline, and there the purpose and the scope has to be very well defined. Then also in ICT, I'm referring to ICT, sometimes in humanities and social sciences, this might not be possible. As much as possible, try to be short in your titles. The next one, please. The next slide, please. I've taken some sample titles to explain certain key points. Actually, I have taken all these, the titles are my papers that were published some time ago. The first one is actually one of my first papers, which was published in, I think, in 1995. So these extending the 007 benchmark for deductive object-oriented databases. Now, you need not know, now there can be people from different backgrounds in the audience today. But when you look at the first abstract title, you immediately know that there is something called 007 benchmark. And also there is something called deductive object-oriented databases. And you also know that this paper is related to extending an already existing benchmark to cover a new area. Now you see the point. The scope is given. You know, the project outline is more or less given in this title. Then the second one, some computational aspects of natural language understanding. Now, if you say natural language understanding, it's a very broad area. And when you say some computational aspects, immediately you know within natural language understanding, the author is restricting his scope to only computational aspects. And when you say computational aspects, there can be so many, but when you say some, is further restricting. Interestingly, for the benefit of our IT students, there is an intersection between natural language and computer science, which is mainly come under the area computational linguistics. So I had a research interest in this intersection between natural languages and computer languages. And I had the opportunity while I was teaching at the University of California. We had a very good linguistics department, and I was attached to the computer science department. So we did a joint research on this intersecting area of computational linguistics. And the third one is also in that area, some aspects of representing a corpus of spoken Sinhala in an electronic database. The term corpus means a collection of, a large collection of words, or semantics, right? So there, you see, what I want to emphasize is in each of these topics, how we have narrowed down or restricted the purpose and the scope and the methods and the tone. So if you pay attention, you will see. Then the next one, integrating ICT in foreign language teaching, a Sri Lankan experience. There again, if you take foreign language, it's a very broad area. Integrating ICT in foreign language is also, you narrow down, and you narrow down further by saying a Sri Lankan experience. Then the last one, an expert system approach to strategic decision making in cricket. So how you can actually, I remember this project very well. I did with one of my students, Dr. Siddharth Liyanage, who did the keynote speech in ICT at the last research symposium. He is now a senior lecturer at University of California, and when he was the final year undergraduate student for his special degree, he did this project, and I was the supervisor. If you go to the next slide, the last slide, please. And I have continued bridging the digital divide by building and developing wireless community networks in rural areas of Sri Lanka. Slightly longer title than the previous ones, but we needed this long version of the title to sufficiently describe the nature of our research. Then the information technology in secondary education, the Sri Lankan experience. Again, narrowing down to be very specific. The last one, information technology education in the Sri Lankan school system, challenges and perspectives. Now you see, when you are selecting a title for an abstract, how specific you should be. And that is what I wanted to emphasize in this very short presentation. But any students who are doing an ICT related, IT related project, especially our final year students, some of whom I am also supervising, if you have any concerns or questions, as Professor Manik said, please feel free to contact me or any other academic staff member, and we should be able to help you in any possible way. And also I must say that although you have seen this formal kind of titles here, sometimes scientists tend to be a bit relaxed and a bit casual also in selecting titles. Now I remember in the late 1980s when the concept of object orientation came into computer science, came into being. So one of the very first papers on object orientation, I think it was published in 1989, that was entitled, "My Cat is Object Oriented." The title of the paper was, "My Cat is Object Oriented." Sometimes people might laugh at this, but when you read that paper carefully, I mean, that paper is available on online. You can do a Google search, "My Cat is Object Oriented," and you will find that paper. The idea was, object orientation refers to, our IT students will know, object orientation refers to how we can represent behavior within computer systems. That is object orientation. If you say in very short terms about object orientation, the definition of object orientation is representing behavior inside objects in a computer programming language. So you can be casual at times, but generally you need to be a bit formal in writing a good abstract title and a good abstract. And my email address was given in the first slide, chandima@cinec.edu. Any IT students who want to contact me can do so by email, chandima@cinec.edu. And I will be very happy to assist you in any way possible. And I must congratulate the organizers of this workshop. And it's a very useful thing, very useful thing for our students. I must congratulate all the organizers of this conference. And this is the first workshop that they are organizing. And I hope there will be many more useful workshops and seminars on the way to our conference in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandima. To provide the audience with a comprehensive understanding regarding the topics and abstract titles regarding to maritime and marine discipline, I would like to invite the head of the department, Faculty of Marine Engineering, and senior lecturer, Mr. M.N.C. Pereira.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I was asked to brief about the program we are discussing about. We involved in this. Actually, we are not going to do any abstract writing or research paper with our marine engineering students. I was asked to brief why we are not in a position to do that. Before that, I will explain the background of our students. We get our cadet program, we get from either from GC O-level or A-level. Those who are with O-level qualifications, they follow the foundation program and then they put into the main program. Others come with only 2 A-level passes. That they are this engine cadet program, that's a structured program. They study here for 1 year and then they go to a dockyard limited to get some practical training. And after that, they go on board to get further training, hands-on training on ships. After that, they come back here to do another 5 months of studies in the campus, and they sit for a certificate of competency exams. Because of that, they are, since they are not continuously studying in the campus 4 years, their total program is also about 3 years. They might not be able to do a proper research paper or abstract paper. Instead of that, we have decided to take a different approach for these students. We have selected some topics and given to them. We have initially grouped them into small groups and appointed a leader in that group, and we have given the topics. Some of the topics are the current topics in the marine engineering field. I will read some of them. Since I didn't get some time, I didn't get time to prepare PowerPoint presentation. I will read from this paper. First one is waste heat recovery systems used on board. That is one of the current topics which is used on modern ships. There is another one, marine pollution types, causes and effects of prevention. Another topic, corrosion protection methods of materials in seawater. That is also very important topic. What we have asked them to do is we have asked them to read the papers presented by other people and try to understand what they have written on their paper. Then we have asked them not to copy anything from those papers, and what they have to do is to understand what the other people have written and then review that article and write on their own words. Small same thing they have to reproduce by using all the references they have used. I can put one of these within this last month, what they have come up with. Can I share the screen?
So you can share the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the, can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Yeah, there are two batches, batch 43 and batch 44. They have just started their basic engineering. These are the topics. I'm not going to read everything. So we have given 8 topics. Yeah, this is one of the outcomes from them. They have done this as a group, and this the topic of the waste heat recovery systems on board. They have done very small writing on this and given the references. I hope this kind of presentation is also allowed to do in the symposium. This I need from these experts whether this kind of article reviews are also accepted in the symposium. During the
basically, this is okay, and we can now, when we do the future workshops, I think they can fine tune very well. I think we really appreciate the part from your side, because we really understand the difficulty of getting the seafarers into this side, because they don't, as you correctly mentioned, that they don't continue continuously they do their the academic work. So I think, but there are many areas that they can do. So let's discuss in future workshops. Let's take additional time for these students and give them more knowledge and try to transform them to good research and academic writing skills with them. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay,
these are possible. These are possible. We will.
Okay, I hope they also will get the interest on research.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we will have
writing.
separate,
So this is as a start. Let them do this.
We really appreciate that part. Finding some way to continue with them. We will have a separate workshop with them.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Mr. Pereira, can you please stop sharing the screen?
Yeah, just give me a second.
All right. Thank you very much once again. Today, from our first online workshop, we looked at how to write an abstract properly. We looked into the overall idea of abstract writing and how to write and select topics based on different disciplines as well. Today, the panel joined with the webinar is the cream of CINEC campus, and I hope all of you joined today obtained a lot of knowledge regarding abstract writing. While thanking our panel members for joining with us, I would like to invite Assistant Head of Department of Logistics and Transport, and Senior Lecturer, Mr. Sampath Sirivardhana, to give the summary of proceedings. So over to you.
Thank you, Damsi. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you so much. And I just want to, without taking much time, I just want to highlight a few things. This is the first workshop of a series of, this is the first workshop of our webinar and our workshop series with reference to the CIRS. Right. So I just want to highlight a few things in aligning with the CINEC International Research Symposium. This is the very first workshop that we are conducting out of the series of workshops. And I just want to highlight a few things under the abstract writing and make sure that when you write the abstract, there must be a clear-cut objective, plus the methods, basically the mechanism, what you research and what you deliver, the methodology of the content, and on the other hand, you have to have the findings and recommendations as well. So those are the basic and core elements that you need to cover. The format is already been uploaded in the website. Please go through that and make sure that when we go through most of the abstract, there are some do's and don'ts. I assure that most of the distinguished panel members highlighted the do's and don'ts when it comes to composing the abstract. On the other hand, I just want to emphasize another point that once you submit the abstract, there'll be 3 phases which all the abstract will be going through. The first step is the ethical review, which means that we'll be going through the content of the abstract, the title of the abstract are aligned with the theme designed by the conference committee. At the same time, we'll be going through the core elements are being addressed precisely. That's the ethical review that we are doing. And then we move into a blind review, which means that your names and your affiliation will be removed and sending into a reviewer, especially the area are specialized. So we'll be sending your abstract into a specialized person, and they will be reviewing your abstract and making the certain adjustment and comments. And after that, we'll be diverting the respective comments to you, and you will be given a certain time period to make the suggestions. And once the suggestions are being corrected and rectified, we will decide the acceptance or the reject of the abstract. So that is what the review process that we are going to do. And I think most of the do's and don'ts are highlighted by all the distinguished panel members in aligning with the respective themes and topics of each faculty. And those are the key things that I need to highlight. And if you need any clarification, yes, we are there to help you. We are there to support you. And we'll be working towards to achieve a common objective, and in order to make this event a success. So Damsi, over to you. Thank you very much. I just make a brief note reference to the proceedings and the summary of the workshop.
Thank you very much, sir. With that note, we will be winding up our first webinar on writing and abstract. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. Have a nice day. Stay safe.